Hi everyone, we're going to be reading Chapter 9 of The Other Side of Truth. Where is Uncle Deli? Grabbing their rucksacks and the brown holdall, they bolted out of the cafe. They stood for a few seconds outside the door, scanning the crowds. Mrs. Bancole was nowhere to be seen. They ran to the flower stall, stopped and turned in every direction. No sign at all. What shall we do, Sharda? Femi's eyes looked as bewildered as Grandma's young goats when he chased them. Let's wait a little in the cafe. Perhaps she's just gone somewhere for a few minutes. Sharda spoke without believing her own words. Machine Lady was clearing away their table when they returned. There was still a little Coke left in each of their glasses. I thought you had left, she said bluntly. Sharda shook her head and Machine Lady shoved the glasses back on the table. The children sipped their drinks slowly, not wanting to reach the final drops. Both sat facing the window, their eyes constantly darting back to the clock as if by magic. Mrs. Bancole might suddenly reappear. Neither wanted to move, although somewhere deep inside herself, Sharda sensed that Mrs. Bancole had really left them. The piece of paper on which Papa had written the details of Uncle Deli's college had gone with her. Mrs. Bancole had asked to see it when they were on the train and had put it into her bag. Do you want to order anything else? Machine Lady's voice was sharp. They'd been sitting at the table for a while. Sharda and Femi shook their heads. Well, this isn't a waiting room. If you're waiting for somebody, you need the waiting room. Unwillingly, they slung their rucksacks onto their backs. It's not even full, grumbled Femi, loud enough for Machine Lady to hear as he picked up the holdall. Keeping close to each other, they wandered through the station. It had been possible to ignore the wintry air while they had been protected in the train and the cafe, but now the chill seeped through their flimsy cotton coats down to their bones. Sharp gusts of even colder air struck them as they reached a large archway leading to the street. It felt like they were stepping into a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle. Sharda grasped Femi's hand and leaned against a shop window to keep out the stream of passers-by. Lagos was full of huge buildings, but they were surrounded by light, air and space. Here, each was packed up against the next. Together they loomed over the narrow pavements like a thick forest of brick, concrete and glass. What if we can't find Uncle Deli? Femi tugged her hand. His voice had the whine he used with Mama. Papa told us where he works. We'll find the place. Sharda tried to sound confident. At least she remembered the name of the college. She could see the letters as Papa had printed them. London College of Art, but nothing else. She wondered if they should try stopping someone to ask. After Machine Lady in the cafe, she didn't really fancy that. From her pocket, she pulled out the 4 coins to check that they were still there. We have to take a bus, Sharda added. What did Mrs. Bancole say? 30-something? Femi looked blank. 2 red double-decker buses, one behind the other, trundled around the corner. They watched them draw to a halt further down the road. Was that perhaps their direction? And then another red bus rumbled by, this time without turning the corner. Or was that their direction? Or was it the opposite way? If only there was some clue. A coach approached them with a sign above the front window that said Brighton. Brighton Rangers, Sharda called Femi. She couldn't help smiling. Anything to do with football. Femi knew all about it. Uncle Deli had sent him a book on English football clubs, so he knew all about them too. Together they began to read the place names on the buses, and Femi nudged Sharda whenever he recognised one from his book. Queen's Park? Crystal Palace? But of course none of the buses or coaches carried a sign for London College of Art. And the more place names they read, the more frightened Sharda felt. The 80p in her pocket could not be worth very much at all. Would it even buy them a bus ticket each? They could not afford to take the wrong bus, and these buses seemed to be going to dozens of different places. Sharda was beginning to recognise the numbers. A 36 passed, followed by a 38. She was almost sure that Mrs. Bancole had said one of those. If only she'd paid more attention. We'll have to ask, she said to Femi. Most of the passers-by kept their eyes fixed ahead as if intent on reaching some distant point. Sharda hesitated, gathering courage to stop someone. She swallowed, trying to prepare her words. If she couldn't catch someone's eye, she'd have to catch their attention some other way. A lady in a long black coat and a smart black turban-shaped hat was coming towards them. Her high heels seemed to make her walk a little more slowly than everyone else. Sharda stepped forward. Excuse me, please, But before she could even ask her question, the lady pulled away. Her gloved hand shot up as if to ward Sharda off. No, no, thank you, the word shot out. The lady didn't even look at Sharda as she scuttled by. Sharda edged back, astonished. It was like having a door slammed in her face. So rude, Femi exclaimed. The lady had treated her like a beggar. What was that saying of Mamma's? A beggar must be prepared to wait. But this was even more horrible. Did Mrs. Gloved Hands think she would catch a disease if she spoke to them? And they weren't begging. All they wanted was to know the way to Uncle Deli's college. Try him, Sharda. Femi indicated a man carrying a briefcase. Sharda took a deep breath and started again. No one else pulled away, but most of the replies were brisk. No. Sorry, never heard of it. Don't know, love. Others just shook their heads. She was beginning to despair when someone said, Can I help you? A young man with a rucksack slung over his shoulder had overheard her question and stopped. If the long twists of corn-coloured hair that hung down to his shoulders had been darker, they would have suited an Egungun mask. Take the 36, just down there, he said. Ask the bus driver to tell you when to get off. College is on the main road. You can't miss it. Thank you, replied Sharda. She tried to return the young man's smile, but her face felt quite stiff with the cold. The number 36 bus driver's eyes were also friendly. He looked as if he could be Nigerian, thought Sharda, until he repeated her words in an accent she didn't recognise. His words rose up as if they might fly away into a song. You want the Royal College of Art? They take students so young these days. He laughed at his own joke as he slid their 4 coins into a machine, which rolled out a ticket strip. It was exactly the right money, no change. Sharda gripped the metal pole. Can you tell us when we get there, please? She asked. It was an effort to keep her voice steady. Just leave it to me, he replied, shifting back to his steering wheel and revving the engine. Soon they were travelling over a large bridge. For a few seconds they glimpsed a postcard view of London up the river, like the one Uncle Dele had sent them.